So here we go with some basic training principles. On the previous slide, we talked about overload progression. So how do you add intensity in a systematic way? How do we ramp up somebody's program so that they continue to improve? So depending on the client, how do you manipulate things? Can you add another day? Can you add duration? Can you make the program more intense? We have to ask the body to do more and more, or else it's not going to improve. On the other hand, if we overload too much, if we ask people to ramp up too soon, they can get injured. So we have to find that delicate balance of where we want to challenge people, but we don't want to injure people. So we're going to talk a lot about that this semester, because some people are going to need a much lower ramping up in the overload department. Specificity. You only gain improvements in the exercises you do, the muscle groups you train. So try to think of it like a triathlete. He or she must train in 3 sports. Their running fitness does not carry over to their swimming fitness, does not carry over to their biking fitness. If you ignore certain muscle groups, so if you only train the pecs and don't train the upper back muscles, you're only going to get fitness gains in the pecs. They're not going to carry over to other muscle groups. So reversibility is the opposite of overload or atrophy. So if you stop training, you're going to lose all those benefits. So things are going to start to regress. And that happens sometimes when someone has a chronic condition, they have an illness, say think of something like an orthopedic surgery where maybe their activity's gone down. So they're actually going to reverse their progress. So we're going to have to work with that because they've become more deconditioned. When people are satisfied with their current progress, then we can put them in a maintenance program. Sometimes they just can't add any more time. They can't add another day. They can't go higher intensity. So when they're at the place where, they're getting sufficient program benefits and they feel personally satisfied, then we just have to work with them. Once again, maybe finding some sort of new goal for them to work with so that they can stay with their program and continue to do it. Basic components of programs. So these are the ACSM recommendations. These are the brand new guidelines. So this is for aerobic conditioning. So you will really have to know how to manipulate these. If you take the certification, you have to know these off the top of your head. So we've always done frequency, intensity, time, and type, called FITT. Now they've added some additional components: volume, pattern, and progression. So we'll talk about these individual components and what exactly they mean. But this is out of the guidelines, so this is just for aerobic conditioning. Resistance training and flexibility are going to be different from this. So definitely commit this table to memory. So let's go through these in more detail. Frequency, health-related fitness. You're generally going to need 3 to 5 sessions per week to improve. So 3 is really the minimum days. So 5 days, most gains in fitness with the lower risk of injury. Although you need 3 to 5 sessions a week to improve, 2 sessions per week will maintain someone's fitness level. So 3 days a week to improve, 2 sessions to maintain. Now, of course, if you're working with athletes, they're going to have a much higher frequency. And I'm sure some of you have even experienced this if you've played a sport where you've done 2-a-day practices. So athletes are going to need a different frequency. And then for special populations, we're going to have to maybe start with 1 to 2 days per week and get to 3 to 5. So not everybody is going to be able to meet those minimum goals right away. So you have to remember individual differences here. Intensity. They've set new ranges in the ACSM Guidelines 9th edition. So this is why we do our fitness testing. So you want to base it off someone's fitness level. How do we set ranges? Watts on the cycle, kilogram meters per minute. Can you work back and forth on that? Can you determine speed and grade on a treadmill to get to where you want to be? So target heart rate or training heart rate, that is where you want the person to be while they're exercising. So this is based off the formula 220 minus age to get maximum heart rate, or if we have a measured maximum heart rate from something like a Bruce or Ramp protocol. So target heart rate, 64 to 75% is maximum, is moderate intensity. And then 76 to 96% is considered vigorous. So these are a little bit different. We're going up to 96%, and that's for people who are on the highest fitness end. Heart rate reserve, or VO2 max, using the Carvonen formula, 220 minus age. 40 to 60% moderate intensity, 60 to 90% vigorous, so 60 plus. And then perceived exertion, the Borg scale, 12 to 14 is moderate, 16 plus is vigorous. Moderate intensity is always going to be safer. If people are going to have problems, such as with a chronic disease, heart disease, pulmonary disease, it's often going to be at higher intensities. So moderate exercise is usually going to be safer for them.